Hello again, Struck Club. As promised, today I'm bringing you a video about the Necromancer class in Diablo 4, the recently announced fifth and final launch class. Again, launch class means that they're hinting at more classes coming after launch. So June 13th, last night, at least my time it was night, it could have been in the US during the daytime. The Diablo 4 team posted their quarterly update, the mid-year quarterly update for June 2022. And this one is focused, as I mentioned, on the Necro. And here it is, my video covering this and bringing it to a video, I guess, version, as a video version, if you don't feel like reading through all this. So the lead class designer, Adam Jackson, is going to do a deep dive into the core playstyles of the Necromancer, some of its skills, and its unique class mechanic, Book of the Dead. This video will also look at the selection of the incredible armor and weapons that the Necromancers can use. So they're saying that Diablo 4 is committed to the principle of player choice. It shapes how I'm quoting Joe Shelley right now. So it shapes how we approach many of our systems, from character customization to the density and layout of our open world to the design of our classes and builds. As you see, the Book of the Dead focuses on this idea of choice and what kind of necromancer we want to be. That's me saying we instead of you, it's written you. So they're saying that we hope you enjoy this update and look forward to your thoughts and reactions. Later this year, you can expect to hear more about how we plan to support Diablo 4 after launch, including our plans for seasons. Again, mixed feeling about seasons, but there is a way, I've talked many times on my streams, there is a way to do seasons without forcing players to start over, without telling them that the hundreds of hours they spent on that one character or those many characters in one season they don't make those, there's ways to make those hours spent in characters not worthless. There's ways to make progress carry over in seasons. And there's ways to allow people play the seasonal content without having to start over. For example, in Path of Exile, if you want to enjoy the new content, you have to wait for the season to be over, and then you can enjoy it with your old characters. Or you can create a new character and enjoy it in the season league, which sucks because that's not fun, at least for me. They're saying that they're grateful to have us with them on this journey. And that's from, as I said, Joe Shelley, game director in Diablo 4. Enough about the intros. I'll quickly speak about the Necromancer. In the words of the class designer, which, as I mentioned, is Adam Jackson, the lead class designer, I'll quickly do some quoting here regarding the Necromancer. Greetings, heroes of Sanctuary. Today we are thrilled to announce that a fan favorite, the Necromancer, is once again returning to slay and subjugate their enemies with necrotic magic. We had a blast working on this iconic quest, and we can't wait to get it into your hands. We know that the Necromancer has a storied history in our franchise, and we are taking a lot of care to give players an experience that lives up to the hype. We have also spent a considerable amount of time making sure that fans of the Diablo 2, Diablo 3, and Diablo Immortal versions of the Necromancer see something familiar with what we have to offer, while at the same time creating something unique for Diablo 4. And they're saying to continue onwards to see what the Necromancer is about, and I will show you just that bit by bit. Starting with the class features, the Necromancer has two different types of resources that they use, Essence and Corpses. Essence is their primary resource, which restores itself automatically at a slow rate. Using basic skills on the Necromancer will also grant Essence, allowing them to cast their skills more often. Which, by the way, here's my thought. That's gonna be fun too, to have basic skill, basic attack builds where you spam those, so you can So you can build up essence and then just nuke out that essence, dump it on something that has a huge cost. That would be an interesting way to play it, most likely. I wonder if there will be such a build. Now, regarding corpses, they on the other hand are the leftover remains of enemies who die near the Necromancer. These remains can be used to summon skeletal minions or to power various other skills, such as Corpse Explosion, for example. In addition to appearing when enemies are killed near the Necromancer, corpses can also be generated via various effects, giving you additional control over how often you want to interact with them. While there will be plenty of corpses at the baseline level, we are aware that some players will want to lean into this resource and as a result have included plenty of options to ensure that they are not left wanting. I'm gonna read that as there's gonna be skills, passives, maybe paragons for that, who knows, and most likely gear that centers around corpses. We'll see. That's just how I understand things. So as far as weapons and other unique gear, necromancers use swords, daggers, wands, focuses, I think it should be called foci, and shields. In addition to these, they are also the only class that can use sight. So class-specific weapons, sights to hand it most likely. And I'm hoping they're melee, not some mid-range, long-range abomination. Although in some games it looks cool, but I'm taking Diablo 4. The sight would have to be either a stat stick or a melee weapon, or both. So additionally, what self-respecting necromancer would be running around the world of Sanctuary without curses? We're happy to say that you will be able to put these nasty debuffs on your enemies to your heart's content with skills like Decrepify and Iron Maiden making a return. Okay, I don't I don't remember much what either of those skills do. I do remember Iron Maiden, but I can't remember the Creepify or whatever. But yeah, that sounds nice. Now let's talk a little bit about the playstyles. The Necromancer has 4 high-level playstyles that players can choose between. These playstyles are Bone, Darkness, Blood, and the Army. Bone skills are relatively physical in nature, and thus benefit more heavily from effects such as Critical Strike. These skills also benefit from having and spending large amounts of essence, as they have various effects that can cause each of their individual attacks to be even more powerful. Bone Spirit is back in Diablo 4, and it now has a unique twist that exemplifies what Bone skills are all about. Bone Spirit not only has a cooldown, but also consumes all essence the player currently has. Once cast, a Spirit of Bone is conjured that seeks out the nearest enemy. Upon reaching them, the spirit will explode, dealing a high amount of damage to the target and all other enemies in the area. This damage is increased by a certain percentage per point of essence spent, meaning that players who spend the maximum amount of essence will deal a significant amount of damage to enemies hit. This skill can also be upgraded so that when it critically strikes, its cooldown is significantly reduced, meaning that players who commit to generating lots of essence while also having a high crit strike chance will get a lot of damage from this skill. It's good to know that there's gonna be various types of upgrades for skills, and it's nice that there will be a crit build with Bone Spirit. That's just my comment. Now back to quoting. Another bone skill that necromancers will have access to is Bone Prison. When the player casts Bone Prison, they slam their weapon into the ground, calling for the circular wave of bone to surround the target enemy or area. Enemies cannot move through this space while the Bone Prison persists, which makes it incredibly versatile and able to be combined with many other skills, even those that are not themed around Bone. Bone Prison is great for blocking off hallways, trapping groups of enemies inside to set them up for an AoE attack, or for simply sectioning off a group of enemies to deal with later while you handle higher priority targets. And here will be my comment. It will also probably be one of the most used skills, especially in PvP. Now, moving on to Darkness. Darkness skills use shadow magic to overwhelm their enemies. These kinds of attacks tend to be damage over time based or attack multiple times in a short window, with various benefits and rewards being granted for damaging enemies in this way. Darkness skills also tend to have various debuffs and crowd control elements so that they can keep their enemies at bay while they die a slow, painful death. Decompose is a basic darkness skill that allows you to channel dark magic onto enemies, dealing damage to them while also generating essence. Unlike other basic skills, Decompose also periodically summons corpses, making it much easier to ensure that you have a steady supply on hand to use for summoning skeletons. Another darkness skill is Blight. Blight launches a ball of dark energy in a direction. Upon hitting an enemy or expiring, it deals an explosion of damage while leaving behind a defiled area, dealing periodic damage to enemies inside over time. This skill deals a high amount of damage to enemies who are standing in place, whether that's due to fighting your undead minions or to being contained via other skills like Bone Prison. And moving on to Blood. Necromancers also use the power of blood magic to siphon the life from their enemies. Not only do these skills tend to have defensive-oriented benefits, they also have many ways to turn that defense into offense for the player, empowering them and rewarding them for having large amounts of maximum health as well as keeping their current health total high. Blood Surge draws a small amount of blood from nearby enemies to the Necromancer that then expels a Blood Nova, dealing damage near the player's location. The damage of the Blood Nova is increased per enemy drained, which incentivizes you to be in the middle of a pack of enemies for maximum effect. Another blood skill is Blood Mist. Upon activation, the Necromancer disperses into a bloody mist, becoming temporarily immune to all damage while draining the life of any nearby enemies that they pass through. This is a universally powerful defensive skill that can give you the time you need to regroup in those dire moments where you become overwhelmed. And the thing many of you, me including, have been waiting about to be unveiled, the army. As you would expect, necromancers can summon the undead to do their bidding. We also allow players to specialize into empowering their army as much as possible, which includes various skills of skeletons as well as the classic golem. One advantage to this method of playing is that it can easily incorporate the benefits of bone, darkness or blood skills, allowing you to have a great deal of customization to how you want to interact with your interact with your army. As an example, we believe it will be perfectly viable to have a player pursue a darkness-themed army built with Decompose as their basic skill to generate corpses, as there is an obvious synergy there. However, if the player wishes to generate corpses via other means, they can just as easily take a nostalgia trip to the year 2000 and just chuck bone spears at their enemies from a distance while opting for all of the bone skill synergies that the Necromancer has to offer. We went through a lot of iteration on how we want the experience of summoning the undead to feel for the player, and how much of their skill bar should be dedicated to this part of the class. To that end, we've come up with what we feel is the best possible version to ensure that players have as much customization as possible over not only their army itself, but also in which other skills they want to use to support their own unique playstyle. If a player wants to have the maximum number of summoned units possible, then they will only have to dedicate 2 buttons to their skill bar. By the way, I have no idea what exactly they mean to that. Do they mean that they just would have to dedicate two buttons of the skill bar to summoning skills and that's it? Just to summoning skills, no more? They're saying that those two are one to raising skeletons and the other one for their golem. And then there is an image where we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 skeletons and the golem. And they're saying that's the maximum. Does that mean you cannot have more than 8 minions? Or maybe that's excluding bonuses from gear that might increase the number of skeletons, and maybe there might be something that doubles the golem. Who knows? If it's only 8 minions, I would be kind of disappointed if I can only have 7 skeletons and a golem. They continue on with the raise skeleton button is a one-stop shop to raise all the different skeletons a player can summon. And the golem button is used to command the golem to use a unique effect that is dependent on the type of golem that is currently active. With this setup, we found a great balance between having the necessary tools for raising and commanding a necromancer army, while also leaving room for player expression in what additional skills they want to put on their bar. Now we're moving on to the Book of the Dead. Speaking of armies, what self-respecting necromancer isn't wandering around with one? Well, actually that might be you. While we absolutely have the full support you would expect to fulfill all your undead summoning needs, we are also giving some love to players who want a more independent playstyle. And we see that Book of the Dead, it being a necromancer unique thing, you have choices. You have skeleton warriors, you have skeleton mages, and golems. Let's keep on reading, and I'll be reading for you. You'll be listening to me. Read it, and you would understand what it is. Cue the Book of the Dead, the necromancer's unique class mechanic. Right from the moment you log in, you will start with an extra skill on your bar: raise skeleton. With this button, you will immediately be able to raise undead warriors to fight by your side. In addition to this, you will also have access to the Book of the Dead. This is a space where you can customize your army, or lack thereof, with increasing options as you level your character. There are 3 customizable summons in this space: Skeletal Warriors, Skeletal Mages, and the Golem. Each summon also has one of 3 specializations that you can choose from. As an example, you can have your skeletal warriors be skirmishers, defenders, or reapers. Skirmishers are a more standard warrior, but have increased damage and reduced HP. Defenders, on the other hand, have bonus HP, and reapers have slower attacks, deal damage in an AoE in front of them, and have a special wind-up attack that deals a high amount of damage. In addition to this, each specialized unit in the army has unique upgrades available to them, giving you even more customization over how each unit in their army functions in their overall playstyle. These units and upgrades will have synergies with the various playstyles mentioned above, as well as at other potential ways to play. As we can see in that screenshot, next to skirmishers, defenders, and reapers for the skeletal warriors, you have 2 upgrade things. It says select an upgrade. So I'm wondering, can I put 2 at the same time, or do I have to pick one of the 2? If yes, how do I get those 2? Is it me putting the 2 upgrades in those slots and then with the press of a button switching between one and the other without having to open the Book of the Dead? I need a more in-depth overview of this. Then there's this sacrifice slot that I have no idea what it refers to, but most likely you would have to put something there, maybe an item, or maybe some sort of consumable, who knows, but there's gotta be something going in there. Makes you wonder what that would be. Now they continue on by saying that in addition to all this customization, we have also added the ability for players to sacrifice different components of their army for personal benefits, and that's the sacrifice I was talking about. Next to each unit type in the Book of the Dead is an extra option to sacrifice the ability to summon that unit in exchange for a personal permanent buff. These buffs are carefully designed and placed so that players can mix and match having none, some, or all the possible summoned units while still having relevant options to enhance their build. The goal here is, with this system, that there should be something for everyone to be excited about. There are relevant, powerful options to choose from, whether players want to play with the full army, part of the army, or even for those who wish to forgo their army completely and play solo. We've had a blast playing with this system so far, and we're excited to see the various combinations that you all come up with to push your necromancers to the next level. I can't wait to do that myself as well. Yeah, so far pretty exciting, and Necro, I can't wait to play a Necro myself. Now on to the final thoughts of the lead class designer. I'll quote: "We are so excited to be able to bring the Necromancer to Diablo 4, and we can't wait to get it into your hands. Whether you're a veteran player who's put in thousands of hours over many years or a new adventure in the world of Sanctuary, we hope you will have a lot of fun with what we've been able to create. As always, please leave us your feedback on what we've shown you so far. While we're confident that we're on the right track, we know that the best ideas and the best games are created with input from the community. Thank you all so much for your patience and for joining us on this epic journey through the world of Sanctuary. We promise it will be worth the wait. And that's a quote from Adam Jackson, lead class designer Diablo 4. In fact, apart from the intro, everything else I've been reading is again Adam Jackson's words. Yeah, that's his final thoughts. Whereas my final thoughts are, I'm excited, but I need to know more. I need to know more about a lot of things. I have so many questions. But overall, I think there will be plenty of various ways to play on Necro, and if it's well balanced, you won't be seeing people using 2-3 builds, but there will be 20-30 builds or even a lot more. The only thing that I'm really skeptical about is they're mentioning that there will be a season pass. This is the one thing. The one thing that I'm really skeptical about, how they will be. Actually, they're not saying season pass; they're saying plans for seasons. So I really wanna find more about their plans for the seasons. Probably they'll tell us in September with the next quarterly update. Until then, we just have to hope that they don't fuck it up. I'm okay paying them every season a little bit of money, but please, if you make some microtransaction seasons, seasonal passes, make it only give you cosmetics and make it that you can grind it whenever you want, however you want, as much as you want. Don't make me log in every day so I can get some seasonal quests. This is my feedback. You want my feedback, you get my feedback. Don't make it like all the other games out there. I want to be able to grind as much season pass XP as possible whenever I feel like it, without any caps. If I want to grind it in a week, let me grind all of it in a week and unlock all the cosmetics that it gets me. Make sure that there are no other things that are non-cosmetic, so that people who don't pay for it don't feel that they're falling behind, so that they don't feel forced into buying the stuff. And please don't make us start over. If people want to start over, sure, make a specific league for those who want to restart and level up a new character and compete to with who will level up that character first and so on. But let me use my old heroes in the new seasons with the new content without having to wait. Don't do the mistake other games have done that have made many people like me not play those games. I know I'm not the only one because I've met a lot of players like that on my stream that agree with me and are disgusted by how seasons are handled. But again, you don't need to handle seasons the way others do. There's ways to handle seasons without forcing players to start over. And that way you will be respecting every minute, every second we have put playing your game. And that's nice. Don't swap us in the face by making us start over. And again, those who like starting over, you can create a separate league, separate server for them to start over there. And that's fine. I mean, it could work. You could cater to both types of players, and everyone will be happy. So this is the feedback you wanted. Hopefully, it's the feedback you needed to hear. Apart from that, everything else sounds nice. To get notified when I upload more content like this one or other builds and guides for Wooter and not so Wooter games, you can subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button to not miss out on notifications. As well as keep in mind there's something called memberships on YouTube, which lets you be a paying member for my channel to get access to perks such as emotes and badges made by me, as well as the option to get one-on-one tutoring for the very basics of Adobe Photoshop, Premiere and After Effects. And memberships can be cancelled at any time if you no longer want to be a member. Thanks for watching all the way until the end, Struck Web. Keep it cool until next time, and goodbye.